Hey everyone, and welcome to a deep dive into something that's really got us thinking, the world of fintech and healthcare.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how these two are changing each other.
Right, it's not just about money anymore, it's about how we actually experience healthcare these days.
Exactly.
So to guide us, we've got Euromonitor's report. It's called Healthcare Transformation Powered by Fintech. And we've got this other really insightful article on the same topic.
Yeah, they're both packed with information, so hopefully we can break it all down.
Totally. So, I think everyone's heard of fintech, but what's it actually look like in a market as big as global healthcare?
Yeah, we're talking about a $7 trillion industry.
Huge. And one of the things that really jumped out at me was buy now, pay later, BNPL.
Oh, for sure. BNPL is not just for, that pair of shoes you've had your eye on anymore.
Seriously. It's changing how people afford their medication now.
Right.
Globally, the BNPL market is already at, get this, $262 billion this year. And it's growing like crazy, something like 46% growth.
That's wild.
But it's more than just the numbers, right? Take Pharmacity in Vietnam, for example. They partnered with this BNPL startup, Fundin.
Okay, yeah.
And they saw their sales jump. But it's not really about profits, is it? It's about helping people afford the medication they need.
That's the thing about a lot of these fintech solutions. They have the potential to really make healthcare more accessible.
Speaking of access, let's talk about hospital bills for a second, because, those can be a nightmare.
Ugh, tell me about it. And it's a global thing. Think about it. $4 trillion spent this year alone on hospital and outpatient services.
Wow. It's a huge market, though, and we're seeing big banks, really big names, taking notice. U.S. Bank bought this company called Salucro.
Interesting.
Yeah, and JP Chase bought Instamed.
And these are both fintech companies that are focused on healthcare payments.
Exactly. So it begs the question, what does this mean for everyday people? Imagine if paying for, your healthcare was as easy as ordering takeout.
Well, in China, it kind of is.
Really?
Yeah, Alipay lets millions of people pay their medical bills in installments through their app.
Wow, so it's already happening. Euromonitor actually found that since Alipay introduced that feature, way fewer people in China see medical care as a hassle.
That's amazing.
Right. Okay, but we can't forget telemedicine. It's convenient, sure, but figuring out payment for virtual appointments can still be a pain.
Yeah, offering different payment options for telemedicine and making the whole checkout process smooth, it can be tricky.
But some companies are doing a great job of it. You've got ZocDoc partnering with Stripe in the U.S.
Smart.
And in Southeast Asia, Good Doctors working with GrabPay.
So they're making it easier for people to pay. What about the international side of things?
Right, good point. Because if you're talking about international telehealth, there are all these different currencies and payment systems to navigate.
Exactly. It gets complicated.
But then you've got companies like PayAli, they're based in the UK,
Yep.
And they're making international payments and payroll much simpler for telehealth providers.
That's really interesting how fintech is adapting to these very specific needs.
It is. But I think as we dig deeper into fintech in healthcare, we're seeing it's not just about simplifying payments. It's about a fundamental shift in how we even approach healthcare.
Oh, totally.
We usually think of healthcare as reacting to an illness. Right? But what if we could actually use fintech to help us prevent those illnesses in the first place? Imagine if we could use fintech for more preventative care, for early intervention, being proactive about our well-being.
That's exactly what's so exciting. Easier access to those things, to screenings, to wellness programs that work for you, even remote monitoring, all because payments and data are connected in a seamless way.
It's like giving people more control over their own health, right?
Right.
But of course, we can't talk about data in healthcare without talking about, keeping that data safe and private.
Oh, absolutely. That's everyone's biggest concern.
Because this is really sensitive information we're talking about.
Right. But the good news is these fintech advancements, they're not just ignoring the rules. They're being developed with regulations in mind,
So it's not innovation versus privacy then?
Yeah, exactly. In fact, you can even argue that fintech is making data more secure. Think about streamlining all those administrative tasks, less human error, because let's face it, we all make mistakes.
That's true. And it ties into something else we've been noticing, how these digital payment platforms are changing the whole dynamic between patients and their providers.
Totally. More transparency means you actually understand where your money's going. With healthcare, You're more in control because you understand it better.
And when you understand something, you're more likely to actually engage with it.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, Something as simple as paying with your phone using Apple Pay or Google Pay can make a difference.
It just makes sense, right? Especially for people who are already comfortable with those technologies.
Makes the whole experience feel less, well, clinical.
For sure.
Okay, but let's talk about the future for a minute. What about blockchain? It's a word everyone's heard, but how will it actually change healthcare?
The key with blockchain is security and transparency, which, as we've said, are super important in healthcare. Imagine a system where your medical records are safe, but they can be shared between your doctors. So no more carrying around those giant envelopes full of paper, no more waiting weeks for information to be sent between offices.
That would be amazing, especially if you're seeing multiple specialists.
Right. And because it's blockchain, it's tamper-proof.
Yeah.
So you know your information is safe, and it reduces the risk of fraud.
That benefits everyone then, patients and providers.
Exactly.
Okay, but blockchain's not the only cool tech out there.
Yeah.
What about AI and machine learning? How are those changing things?
Well, we're not at the point where robots are our doctors.
Not yet, anyway.
Right. But AI is already having an impact. Take predictive analytics, for example. We can use AI to analyze huge amounts of medical data and identify patterns. And that means we might be able to predict health risks before they even become problems.
So instead of just reacting to a heart attack, we can potentially prevent it.
It's all about being proactive.
That's amazing. Like having a crystal ball for your health.
In a way, and it's not just about individual patients. We can use those insights to make sure hospitals and clinics have enough staff and resources.
So it's not just about working harder. It's about using tech to work smarter.
Exactly.
Okay, last one, I promise. But we keep hearing about InsurTech. What is that exactly?
So InsurTech uses data to create insurance plans that are tailored to you.
Instead of having those one-size-fits-all plans that don't really fit anyone.
Exactly. Imagine a plan that actually considers your medical history, the choices you make, even your DNA, and then figures out the coverage you need based on that.
So it's like personalized insurance, basically.
Exactly.
That makes so much more sense. Okay, so we've talked about like everything from BNPL to blockchain to even AI. It's clear that fintech is changing healthcare in some pretty big ways. But is it like a magic solution? Will it fix everything?
Well, it would be amazing if there was one simple answer. But healthcare's complicated, right?
That's true.
It's more accurate to say that fintech is a really powerful tool that's pushing things forward, making healthcare more affordable and accessible for everyone, which is like the whole point.
Right, it's about people. I like that, they like amidst all this talk about tech and algorithms, it's easy to forget that.
It's easy to get caught up in all the cool technology for sure, but yeah, in the end, it's about how we use those tools to help people live healthier lives.
And that's what's so interesting about all of this, right? Like, we're talking about a future with AI doctors, personalized medicine, all this data, but we have to keep asking ourselves, what do we want that future to look like?
Exactly. And that's where everyone listening comes in, The more we talk about these things, the more we ask questions, the better the chances of getting the healthcare system we need, a system that puts people first.
I love that. So, everyone listening, we've learned about some amazing advances in this deep dive, but the real challenge, and I think it's an exciting one, is to take this knowledge and use it to actually make a difference. Advocate for a better healthcare system for yourself, for everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for being here with us. Until next time, stay curious and stay healthy.